I feel like Superman, they gon' remember me. I think I know I can. Who says it's hard to reach? Who's gonna stop me on the road to success? I don't know.
Hello and welcome to AP Football Analysis. Now, there's something I'd like to talk about, and that is the overall negativity surrounding Arsene Wenger's tenure as Arsenal FC manager. We see increasing amounts of supporters come out and display hostility towards Arsene Wenger by bringing banners and performing marches before Arsenal games. And I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not necessarily an Arsene in sort of person. In fact, at the end of this season, what I want is for the board to critically analyse where Arsene Wenger is going wrong, what is going on within the club and the playing list, what needs to change, and then take the correct course of action to try and figure out what's going on and make sure that next season, what has happened this season, doesn't happen again. Because it has been inappropriate, has been unacceptable, and I do share Arsenal fans' frustrations, but I think that we can go about it in a little bit of a different way. So there are some fans who say that the reason they're doing marches is because the club doesn't listen to them if they're passive or if they just make a few comments online. And so they need to actually show vociferous support for Arsene Wenger to leave. That's what they want to do. They want to say, we support Arsenal Football Club, not Arsene Wenger. And if Arsene Wenger's not showing the results that we want for Arsenal Football Club, then we don't want him here. They're trying to lace this, though, with, some kind of respect, that they respect what he's done for the club, but it's time to go. But if you see the banners, a lot of the banners, and if you hear a lot of the comments that are made, they are disgusting towards him. They're not respectful. They're not saying the nice things. They're saying the bad things, and then when they get told off for being disrespectful, then they try to change its tune a little bit and say, oh, we do respect him, but it's time to go. When they're, calling him pathetic, they're calling him a loser, they're calling him an arsehole, they're swearing at him. I'm not going to repeat half the things that people have said about Arsene Wenger. I think he's stubborn. I mean, I think that he needs to pull his finger out of his ass. There's no doubt about that. But there is no way in hell that I would openly march against a manager that's done so much for my club. I don't believe there's any one person bigger than the club. The club is bigger than everyone. But Arsene Wenger is still an integral part of this club. And in fact, without Arsene Wenger, I'm not sure Arsenal would be in the position it is in today. Because what he's been able to do with limited funds and resources relative to the other big clubs in England and Europe is remarkable. He's been able to maintain top four. He's been able to maintain Champions League for 20 seasons in a row, or 19 or 20. Pretty much his entire tenure, he's been in the Champions League. That's a remarkable thing. It's a feat that's only matched by Real Madrid, for Christ's sakes. This is not just a tiny deal. This is something that, is a massive thing. We've built in, a brand new stadium, and we've still managed to be at the top of the Premier League, or close to the top of the Premier League, and in the Champions League, when clubs like Chelsea and the two Manchester clubs are spending billions collectively on players, and Arsenal's spending maximum of 100 million a summer, which is our biggest spend. This summer, I think, was our biggest collective spend ever. And that just shows you when, Manchester United is spending as much as we spend in one summer on one player. It just shows you, what we're up against. And Manchester City, are still behind everyone, all the other clubs. I think they're in 6th position. So they're not even up there with, with your Chelseas and your Cities and whatever else. And that just shows you that money doesn't necessarily always, determine success. I mean, there's a massive correlation between money and success. I'm not doubting that. But what we've been able to do with less funding, still handsome funding, but less funding than the massive clubs, is remarkable. And Arsene Wenger is a massive reason for that happening. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm happy with Arsene Wenger, because I'm not. I'm not happy with Arsene Wenger at all. But I think it goes deeper than that. It's not just the manager's fault. The players have a massive role to play as well. The board, the people who run the club financially. There are people who sit there and say, and a lot of Arsenal fans, and in particular on Arsenal fan TV, that say that the board should go, and the manager should go, and 7 out of the starting 11 should go because they're not worth it and they're not worthy of playing for Arsenal Football Club. I don't think these people understand organisational structures much, because if any business, and let's be honest, that's what Arsenal is, because it's run like a business. That's exactly what it is. It's traded. Any business that has massive organisational change, like they're suggesting, will crumble. You think that we're going to be able to get top 4 if our entire board goes and we're rebuilding the entire club from the ground up? It's not how it works. Any change in a company needs to be incremental. And that's good for the confidence of the board. It's good for the confidence of the manager. It's good for the confidence of the players to make sure that our club is stable. So all these wide sweeping changes that these people are prophetically saying will happen, they're not going to. They're saying that this is the way to get Arsenal back to the top, is to, be rid of all these problems in the club. And the thing is that clubs like Liverpool have problems. Everyone's sitting there saying how good Jurgen Klopp is, and they've still got problems. They still lose to a Burnley. Manchester United have problems. They spend all this money and they're still in 6th. Arsenal are really the only team in the Premier League that are consistently in the top 4. Chelsea last year finished 10th. Yeah, sure, they're playing well this year, but they didn't play well last year. We're playing better than Chelsea did last year, and the Arsenal fans are sitting there going, oh, well, this is just not good. This is not good enough. And I can understand that because we haven't won the Premier League for 13 years, that they're pissed off and they want to win things. Fair enough. But what we've had to deal with in terms of a changing landscape in global football, in terms of increasing finances for the big football clubs around the world, and every other little change that has happened as a result of globalization in the 21st century, which has shown that money does matter in these sorts of environments. The fact that we've been able to maintain a pretty healthy position in the league and get to the round of 16 most years in the Champions League is a testament to not only Arsenal's stability, but Arsene Wenger's stability that he brings to the club. So I think he's still got a year left. I think there needs to be a massive shake-up at the end of the year. And I'm not saying necessarily change heaps of personnel within the club. I'm just saying that the club needs to analyse why things are going wrong and fix them, or try to fix them. Arsene Wenger is not a terrible manager at all. He's a very good manager. He's very astute. He's very good at buying players. He's a bit of a stubborn bastard, and he is a bit of a smart-ass when it comes to dealing with other clubs in the market. But I don't think that he deserves the treatment that he's getting. I don't think that he's the sole reason for Arsenal being, in the position it is. I think it's a widespread contribution from, everyone within the club. Arsene Wenger wasn't the reason that we lost 10 to an aggregate to Bayern Munich. He wasn't. Simple as that. When you've got players that don't show heart, don't show gumption, make stupid decisions, and they can't man up, then you're obviously going to lose to a Bayern Munich and lose a lot. And Bayern Munich, we played well for large patches of those Bayern Munich games, but we had like 10-minute lapses in each game where we, pretty much lost, conceded 3 goals within the space of 10 minutes on both occasions, roughly. And that shows that any lapse in concentration against these big teams, even if you have 70 minutes of the game where you're playing well, a 10 or 20 minute lapse in judgment can be cataclysmic for the result of the game. And people don't analyse this. They look at the end result. They don't look at what happens within the game. They don't sit there and go, oh, well, this and that and the other. I think the board needs to sit down and say, Arsene, get real. End of the year, Arsene, what's going on? What needs to happen? What can we do for you? What do you need? Like, what happened this year is not acceptable. We want to be winning things. Why aren't we doing it? What do you need? We'll get the best sports scientists in the world to come to this club. We'll get the best technology. We'll get, ridiculous fitness equipment. We'll get, every technological advancement that you need to be able to succeed. That's what the board needs to do. They need to say, we have the resources to make sure that we are a top club. We still believe in you as a manager, but you've got to help us. Help us realize why things aren't going the way they should be going. And that's what fans need to say. They don't need to sit there and be disrespectful to a guy who's done so much for this club. For a guy who, without his help, we probably wouldn't be in the same position that we are now. I don't get it. There's such a thing as decorum and there's such a thing as respect. These people have such a narrow view on world football that they think they're entitled to just win the Premier League every year. No, you've got 8 clubs, 8 pretty sizable clubs that are vying for the Premier League every year. Everton are a club that's probably 7th or 8th in terms of size, but they've still got a very, very good squad. They've still got a squad that on their day could beat anyone in the Premier League and most teams in Europe. That's who we're coming up against, and we're supposed to just waltz past these clubs when we don't compete with massive Manchester clubs in terms of buying players and whatever else. This is what I don't understand. People need to get real, need to get realistic. I think we need to get players like Leicester were last year, but players with a bit more gumption, a bit of heart, a bit of passion, like Alexis Sanchez. People don't understand. Alexis Sanchez cost £35 million. Today's market be 70, 80 million pounds. We got Alexis Sanchez for 35 after he started most games for Barcelona the year prior and scored like 19 league goals in 25 games. I mean, think about that. You think that Arsene Wenger is a shit manager? Shit managers don't pull off things like that. Mesut Ozil, 42.5 million quid after having an extraordinary season with Real Madrid the year previous, and players like Cristiano Ronaldo were, coming out publicly and saying how disappointed they were in the board for letting him go. We have players like this at our club because of Arsene Wenger, and here's the reason that these players sign. He's not done yet. He's got a year or 2 left to prove that he can get the job done and that he can provide proper silverware, as in going deep in the Champions League and playing Premier League. But the fact that these people are bringing out banners and swearing at the guy and abusing him, and then get upset when people get upset with them, it's so hypocritical. You can't sit there and disrespect someone so much and be so mean-spirited in the way you do things and expect that everyone's going to be okay with it, because they're not. I'm a moderate Arsenal fan. I'm not either Arsene knows best or an Arsene out. But even I think it's disrespectful. I'm not deluded. I understand that Arsenal needs to be pushing higher and be aspiring for greater things. That is why we moved to the Emirates Stadium from Highbury. 38,000 capacity to over 60,000. Okay, the highest stadium revenues in world football. Highest season ticket prices. We demand excellence and we need excellence. But bringing out banners and being so disrespectful to someone like Arsene Wenger, who's done so much for this football club, is very, very wrong. And I'm disappointed in the way some of our fans are acting. It's not acceptable, and I do hope it changes very soon. Alright guys, thanks very much for watching this video. If you did like it, like the video and also subscribe, and I'll see you for the next installment on AP Football Analysis. See you later guys.
I feel like I can't run, I can't crawl, and sometimes I feel like I ain't nothing at all. Life is a journey where you stumble and fall, but I